boy, you know, maybe it's just we're noticing now, but there have been shocking video. There's been shocking video after shocking video of racism, just brutal, awful racism. And there's a new one.
And I got to say,
terrible.
At a point, maybe it's not shocking. And this is the reality of life in America. And now there's a spotlight on it. This time in New Jersey, where there was a Black Lives Matter protest going on, a march, peaceful march on Monday. And there were some people on the sidelines, on the sidewalk, in their driveways. And this guy is the one getting all the attention now because this jerk is there recreating George Floyd's death with a friend of his.
In front of a Black Lives Matter march.
Yes. I mean, in front of anyone, it would be awful, but the intent is clear when he's doing it in front of a Black Lives Matter march with, by the way, you can see behind him.
Look to the right of the screen.
Yep, but whatever. That's not for me to say, but yes, supporting President Trump.
Sure it is.
Supporting President Trump. But, you know, this video got so much attention. This guy got something I'm sure he was not planning on, and that is a call from his employer. He works for FedEx, it turns out. Somebody saw the video, recognized him, pointed out that he works for FedEx. We got in touch with FedEx, and once they found out about this, they did not take it lightly at all. Kudos to FedEx.
It was very quick, their action, Charles. I mean, first they suspended him. They said, hey, we're looking into this. We've suspended him. And then just a couple hours later, hey, this investigation's over. This guy's fired, and he's no longer part of our team. So kudos to them for handling it quickly. Yeah.
I want to say this, Brad, the fact that they said investigation over, because it's kind of like, this is the thing that we've been saying lately. When you see something, and it really goes back to George Floyd, when you see it clear as day in video, how much investigating do you need? That's it. The investigation's over right there.
I don't know if that's another term maybe for they got to wrap out his paperwork or what, but they called it investigation because like you said, you see very clearly what happened there.
Yeah, you see very clearly. And, you know, I got to say that if there's talk about Donald Trump giving a speech on racial justice, which is absurd, but for Donald Trump can't give us any speech about that unless he disavows these people, right? I mean, and he's not.
Well, that's what would make
him do it.
Right, and that's what would make that speech totally disingenuous. And if look, we do want the president to make an appeal for unity in the country, but he's got to not just say these words; he's got to walk the walk.
Well, Charles, look, I have just been thinking about so much over the last week or two that, you know, I just, do you think that Donald Trump could possibly give any speech? Look at what he did yesterday. That Donald Trump, when George Floyd is buried, and he hides out in the White House, and the only thing he says is this ridiculous Antifa claim against that poor man that was brutalized by those officers and knocked to the ground.
Right.
And this is all Donald Trump did on the day that George Floyd was buried. He is not going to disavow these guys. He probably embraces these guys. And the notion of him giving a speech is absurd.
By the way, speaking of those guys in New Jersey, we should say that there was another person in the video in the group that was mocking the protesters. He turns out he is a corrections officer at a prison in South Jersey.
Are you kidding me?
And he was identified as well. Now, he has also been suspended by the prison while they investigate. We will see how that one turns out. But again,
well, and if you have African-American prisoners, you know, under his watch, you can't let him back in that prison.
Yeah, it's
hardcore racist who will do violence to them, I think. Right?
Exactly. I mean, that's how the investigation should go.
Hi, I'm Kendrick. I'm from Greenwood, Mississippi. I feel like that video was definitely it was unnecessary. And I think he deserves to get fired.
At the very least, he deserves to get fired. Boy, Charles, you know, we've been talking about this, you know, off camera and just you and me.
Yeah.
White people, and myself included, we have just not been looking at this right. Because we have not attempted enough to look at it through the lens of people who have really been oppressed. And when it boils over, not to look at it through that lens is just wrong. It's just wrong. And that may be one of the reasons things have not gotten better.
But it's also the reason why now, for the first time, certainly in my life, it feels like it could get better, because you have a lot of people who are not people of color who are realizing, you know what, things have been pretty messed up, and we haven't said anything about it, and that's the only thing that's going to make it change.